Hello, hello?
Hello? Hello? Is anyone out there?
It's a mom's night out.
Welcome to a mom's night out, everyone. Happy Wednesday.
Hey,
Hey, ladies. Okay, so we have an amazing guest tonight, and it's our second guest of our Power Player series. And to remind you, this is a series of impactful interviews that are highlighting entrepreneurs and change makers who are challenging the status quo. We're so excited to have Lindsay Jean Purcell, founder of House of Stellium, which is an intuitive events and experiences company. Lindsay herself is an intuitive tarot card reader and a Reiki 2 practitioner. She's a healer who helps people transmute pain into power and uncover their true path to fulfillment. Additionally, Lindsay is a wedding and event planner by trade and has worked in the events industry brand experience for over 15 years. So I met Lindsay back in 2015.
A lifetime ago.
Right? We fact checked that. We went
You
back.
met when you were 12.
The math adds up on that. Yeah.
So we met in 2015 when we both worked in the commercial real estate industry. And I just felt like it was important to say we instantly connected. I remember the first night that we met, and I feel like both
Thank
you
you,
and
Alden.
I. Thank you, Alden. Shout out. We're both big personalities, but we jived, and so
We hit it off instantly.
right. And so, welcome to a Mom's Night Out. We're so excited to have you.
We are so excited.
Thank you guys for having me. I am so excited to be here, and big congratulations on all of your success. It's only been 3 months and you guys are on a rocket ship straight to the moon.
Thank
Yay.
you. You're the best.
I just got goosebumps.
I know. Honestly, we
You guys are doing big things here.
well, and the energy tonight is so electric. And I also just think that this is the first time I'm really nervous doing a podcast. So
You're
that
not
must
alone.
mean something. Okay. So guys, tonight we're going to talk all things tarot cards, and we're going to talk about Lindsay and what she does. And so let's just get right into it.
Love it.
How did you start House of Stellium, and what drove you to start this new business venture? Because I knew you back from the commercial real estate industry and more of a corporate job.
That's right. It was an interesting jump. I will say that there were my last 2 full-time jobs, both ended in ways that I didn't expect. And I don't think I got the message the first time from the universe. I did get a wonderful experience with my last full-time job. I met some incredible people. Working in that job felt like a mini MBA. I learned so much about running a business and honestly entrepreneurship in general. But that also ended in a way I didn't expect.
Yeah.
And I interviewed pretty intensely for about 3 months, kept getting last round interviews, but never getting chosen. And I just kept feeling like maybe corporate's not for me. And in my last corporate job, I just kept feeling like, I don't know that I fit this mold anymore. There's nothing wrong with this, but I don't think it's for me anymore. And in that time, I was getting really more into astrology, learning about birth charts. I started wearing lots of crystals to work. People started asking what they were.
I remember we would talk astrology all the time.
All the
so I
time.
remember that moment in time very clearly.
Well, it felt like a lifetime ago, but you're right. I've always been interested in this. And when nothing was working out, I started feeling like, okay, this is the sign to start my own business. I took a leap of faith, and it started with marketing, consulting, and event planning. And then I think in 2021, I got my Reiki 1 certification. 22, I got Reiki 2. And then in January of last year, I formally took a intuitive tarot card class with Colleen Marie in an awesome spot in Scituate called the Scituate Salt Cave. And it clicked. It just clicked instantly. I don't know if you've ever learned something where it just felt easy and natural and like there were no hangups around learning it. But that's what my experience was around tarot.
Love it.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. What a wild feeling.
It was wild. Have you ever had anything like that?
I feel like yes with this podcast.
The podcast.
Yeah, but maybe this is the universe sending us in. So I can appreciate that so much. Because I do feel like I've always been like, this isn't it. I love my job, but this isn't it.
I think that's okay for women though, right? Like, I think it's okay to lean into the ands.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be either or. I think you can and things. I have a full-time job and I have a podcast.
Okay, we're going to
To
take
your
that
capacity,
quote.
to whatever capacity you have, right? But there's nothing wrong with wanting more if you have the right support system and you've got the right determination and drive. Or at least that's what I think.
Oh, no, that's so true. So, how did you come up with the name of your company, House of Stellium?
I love this question because technically I didn't.
Oh.
Fun fact for the MNO pod. I took the class. It was a 2-month class, so an intensive class with a well-known medium. I did 40 free readings. And in that time, I was having coffee with a friend. And I kept saying to her, I really want to start this business so I can start offering paid tarot readings, but I don't know what to call it.
Oh my gosh.
She's a brand wizard. Shout out to Jack. I was telling her about it. And of course I led with, well, I'm a Scorpio stellium. And she goes, stop. Your business is House of Stellium.
Stop it. I just got the chills.
I got goosebumps. It was a full body yes. And on the spot, I bought the domain name. And that was it.
Oh, wait, I had that same feeling once.
Oh my, you guys, I wish you could see. I have goosebumps. Right
Yeah,
now.
because
Do you?
when we were all talking about starting the podcast, Jen went out and bought the domain name, and I thought somebody had stolen it from under us. It was Jenny.
When you know, you know.
Well, she's a Sagittarius. She moves quickly. You gotta keep up.
Wow, I love that. Turning back to, I think you've been talking about a lot of names and people who have influenced you in your life. Who would you say is the most influential person right now for you in your life?
I've mentioned her already, but it's got to be my mentor, Colleen Marie. She and I have a wild story about how we met, and it's rather long, so I'll keep it short. The short version is my mom bought me a birth chart reading 2 years ago, and it was through a business like in a surrounding town. It wasn't even where my mentor and now friend Colleen worked. She was a new mom at the time, so it was a virtual reading. I didn't even see her face.
Whoa.
She sent me this like YouTube link to my birth chart reading, and I just felt like I knew her. It was wild. We had a nice email exchange, and then that was that. Maybe 4 months later, I went to the Salt Cave again. That's shout out to my South Shore girlies. And I saw outside there's a chalkboard that said tarot card readings today. I walked in, I went to go book the reading, and out walks Colleen, and I looked at her and I go, do we know each other? And she goes, I think we do. And then I go, oh my God, Colleen. And she goes, Lindsay? And I
Wait, the universe.
I swear that's how we
again.
The
met.
universe is sending you full tilt on this journey.
She lives 15 minutes from me, and we have a lot of people in common. We should have met a million times before that.
What?
And that's how
But
we
you weren't ready, maybe.
No, and then I got to know her over the course of that year and then learned from her.
Goosebumps.
It's wild. But she's been instrumental in like honing this skill for me and giving me the confidence I need to continue practicing and to continue sharing my gifts. So I'm very grateful for her.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I feel like this sort of goes along with that. So talk about what you do and like, are you reading tarot? Are you a psychic? I mean, I feel like we talked about that. Like, what's a tarot card reader? What's a psychic? Like, that feels like a kind like, what's a medium? Like, what are you?
It's a great question. Candidly, I'm still figuring it out. Tarot is this interesting thing where once you get started and you are doing it intuitively and you're putting in the hours, you have a lot of respect for the cards. Sometimes you surprise yourself with what you can do in readings. And for me, this past summer, I did a reading where I brought through someone's relative who had passed and could describe them pretty clearly, mention the exact sign they were hoping to hear that she didn't tell me about. And we both just sat there with our jaws open thinking like, did I just do that?
Wow.
Did that just happen? So I'm still calling myself an intuitive tarot card reader. And I say that because I think psychic gets a bad rep.
Yeah.
I don't think it should. But truthfully, all of us have intuitions, right? We all know when we get a gut feeling about something it's going to be good or bad. So we all have intuitive gifts.
Yeah.
All of us. I think the difference between intuition or intuitive and psychic is a honing of those gifts. And it's being able to perceive and predict things for things that are outside of you and your experience. Mediumship is a different ballgame where you're communicating with spirit. So it's kind of like levels,
Okay.
in my opinion.
That's interesting. I was going to say, do you think because you've been practicing these like new gifts, or like you said, it's always within all of us, but maybe when you start paying attention to it, and it's like a muscle, right? Like working it. Like, do you think there's anything to that? Like
You're hitting the nail on the head. I think it's absolutely that. You got to put in the hours.
Yeah.
When I think about the last year, I was trying to calculate how many readings I did last year, and it's over 300, which is wild to think about. But I did 40 free readings before I started charging for readings. So over the course of the year, 300 or so readings. It's a lot of putting in the time, right? And that doesn't count the hours that I spent learning the cards and their meanings.
Studying.
So what you don't ever forget, guys, that what you focus on expands with anything in life. It's an important thing I try to like carry with me. It's even like negative thoughts, right? If you're having a crappy day, if you're focusing on the stuff that's not going right, it's just going to, not going right. They'll continue to
get worse.
Get worse.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Like, everything's just, piles on.
It's like what's that book from our childhood? Alexander's No Good.
Very bad day. I was going to say that. You're like, yeah, it's bad.
It is bad.
You negative Nancy.
So, I was going to say, so I've never had a psychic reading. I've never had a tarot card reading. Like, talk us through the process. Like what happens during a reading? I know we're going to do one later tonight. And like, what's the end goal of a reading?
Oh, okay. You asked me a couple of questions there.
Sounds about right for a Mandy question.
Well, she's a Gemini. We'll get to that later.
Multi-part.
All right, let me break that one down. All right, so you asked about what actually happens in a tarot reading.
What happens in the reading?
Okay. So for me, when I invite people or when people book a reading with me, I have a little note that comes with your confirmation email that asks you to think about a question you have for the deck. I'm a big believer that tarot is a way to tap into your higher self for guidance. It's very much a mix of my energy and yours. And I like to remind people you're in the driver's seat of your experience. So if you're coming with an open heart and an open mind and you're relaxed, then you're going to have a great reading. If you are coming feeling a little bit skeptical or really nervous or even scared, your energetic field is like shut off and not really able for us to kind of have this really great experience together.
I love that.
But when you sit down, I prime you with all of that. And then I ask you to think on your questions. And after we anchor into your question, I ask that person to cut the deck into 3 piles. Then I ask them to put the deck back into one in any order. They anchor into their question one more time. And then I invite them to take 3 deep breaths with me. That's so that we can both get relaxed, shake out the nerves, really ground ourselves before
I don't think
we start.
I'm ever relaxed. So
that might be tricky for you.
I feel like there's so much, like, not to equate what you do to even like podcasting, but we were saying like we shake out the nerves. You saw it before we
shake
started.
Out the nerves.
So
listen, I'm a big fan of dance. You just gotta dance it out sometimes.
100%. We're going dancing together.
Yeah. somewhere locally?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Not the banana.
Yeah, my living room after this episode.
Perfect. Wednesday night, we're getting after it.
Wait, okay, so that's what happens during the reading. And then what's the goal of the reading?
Yes, I forgot about that part. I really do think the point of a reading, it really depends on what you're looking to get out of it. But there's a few things that I really hope people get out of their readings. I hope you feel more seen and known. I hope you feel like your experience, whatever your question is, was validated. And I hope that you feel optimistic about what's to come. Most times people come to me with a challenging question, and they're looking for answers on how to proceed forward or how to get unstuck. I think one of the things that I'm really good at is helping people take their pain and turn it in. I know I saw that too.
The light, you guys, you can't see it, but the lights just flickered.
And I just had a weird ear thing happen. That's fine.
I'm like,
help transmute their pain into power. I never want people to leave feeling, and they never do, negative, disgruntled, frustrated, confused. Most people usually tell me they feel 10 times lighter. They feel optimistic. And they usually feel like they're able to now trust their intuition. Because usually what you're asking me is something you probably know deep down. Yeah. You just aren't sure if you can trust it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm still goosebumps.
I know. Honestly, I wish everyone could be in this room with us because it just feels wild to me.
Yeah.
The energy does feel a little intense and electric, but in a good way. In a good way.
I also have to say about you and your personality. And so I knew you before you did this, but I feel like it's so
Did it surprise you when I started doing this?
No,
Okay.
not at all. And it's so on par for you. Like I could never see someone leaving an interaction with you feeling bad. So I think
That's
just
so nice, Katie.
that speaks to like what you do and why you're good at what you do. I don't
Thank
know.
you.
Like we instantly connected when we met.
I just knew when I met you, I'm like, she's my people.
Right?
I'm like, she's good people.
Well, and so I'm either your people or I'm not, like in my life in general. So I feel like
People say the same about me.
right?
And
So
I'm like,
that's
that's
why.
fine.
I'm not for everyone.
I'm not for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back some, you mentioned earlier that we are all intuitive and we all have that in us. But was there a moment that stood out to you where you were like, I have a really special gift and I can do even more with?
You know, it's funny that you asked that. I was trying to think on like, is there a moment? I don't know if there's a moment, but there's been a couple of things along the way that made me not give up on this. And I'll explain what I mean. So as a kid, and I now know why I could do this, but as a kid on long car trips with my parents, I could predict to the minute. And I'm talking like over an hour away, usually like 2 or 3 hours away, to the minute when we would arrive somewhere.
What?
And my dad would, this is like, wait, guys, we're old enough that like iPhones didn't exist. GPS didn't exist.
Yeah, it was MapQuest.
Like, no, it wasn't.
Not
I don't even know if
It
we
was
had
your map
MapQuest.
drawing a
I'm talking
line.
like
It was
1992.
Yeah, the AAA
okay?
triptych.
Yeah, you had your AAA like map. Okay?
Yeah, it was like you flip the pages.
There was no digital like predicting with the Google when you'll arrive somewhere. I could predict to the minute when we would arrive somewhere.
my God.
And my dad would get pretty close, but I would know like to the minute. And we'd get there and I'd be like, see, I told you.
Stop.
So I had a lot of moments like that as a kid where it didn't, I will be clear, as a person having an experience, like having a human experience, I could never predict with my own life when it comes to relationships, how things were going to work out or not.
Yeah.
Although I do have a crazy story about one of them.
Yeah, we'll save that for the fun at the end.
I'll tell that later. But when it comes to other people, I had this really weird ability to predict how things would turn out or what would happen. And as a kid, it got you labeled as a know-it-all. And that's not fun. And no one likes to be around that. So I kind of squashed it as a kid. I was always that weirdo who was asking what your astrology sign was and talking about the astrology wheel and into crystals. My mom's best friend is a medium. The other is a Reiki practitioner. My house was haunted as a kid. Like there were all of these things that surrounded me in my childhood. But I don't think I really like grasped it until my dad passed, which was 10 years ago. And I had this big spiritual awakening and my gifts came in much, much stronger.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to say that's one of the ways that you and I really bonded. So I don't know if anyone listening, even my friends know this, but listeners out there don't know. We both lost our father. So I lost my father. You lost your father.
Remind me your dad's first name?
Douglas.
Yeah.
And so we really bonded over that. And I feel like even throughout your journey, finding what you were supposed to do, like you would post certain things, not a lot, but like meaningful things. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I relate to that so much. So do you think dealing with that pain and grief helped project you into you said your gifts came out. Did that help project you to where you are now and starting this tarot card reading company?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for me, when my dad passed, I like to say his passing wasn't sudden, but it was sudden to me. And what I mean by that is that he passed from congestive heart failure and he dealt with it for half of my life. I should have seen the writing on the wall, but I think when you're a kid, and maybe even more so as a daughter to a father, you never predict that your dad is going to pass, right?
Totally.
Like that's your protector. He's always going to be here. So when he passed, I just was not prepared for that. But something I was really proud of is that, and I don't know if this totally came from me or if it was the environment I was in, I went full immersion on the grief, like really intense. But the benefit of that is I had a lot of support around me. and I was able to process it fully. And also during that time, my dad started giving me very undeniable signs.
I remember that.
Very undeniable. Like people who were non-believers who were around me, who could witness them, would all go,
Was that real?
did that just happen? And I'm like, yeah, that just happened.
Yeah.
It was everything from a very, like, for example, my dad's favorite song is Hotel California. You don't hear that on the radio these days, guys.
Yeah.
And it would come on the radio. Or there was another song that reminded me of him that would play that was not current and kept playing on the radio. Or like every time I turned on my phone, it would play. And I'm like, that's not even in the queue.
Oh my God. I have goosebumps again.
I know.
I keep coming. Don't worry.
I can relate to that. And then he sends you like number signs, right?
Yes. My favorite joke with people is that, and I forgot to tell you, I saw it the second I pulled off. This is wild, Katie. The second I pulled off the exit to come here, I was like, you want to show off tonight? Give me a sign. And when I pulled off, a car was pulling on to the highway ramp and it was the numbers backwards. So the numbers that mean something to me for my dad is 1, 4, 3, and then sometimes it has a 7. For anyone that grew up on the South Shore, those are numbers that relate to a lighthouse called Minot Light. That's how they would flash the lights for fishermen or sailors who were out at sea so that their loved ones knew that they missed them. 1 is I, 4 is love, 3 is you. And then my name is Lindsay, so it's 7. So I joke when Dad's showing off, I'll see a 1, 4, 3, 7. And on the way here, I saw a 3, 4, 1. And I was like, that still counts.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it still counts.
Still counts.
I love that.
Yeah, but it definitely, it got much stronger after he passed, but then my whole outlook on life passed. I'm sure you feel that way, Katie.
Yeah, it changes everything.
Right, everything.
I think you and I talked to, and maybe you said this to me, there's before you lost your dad, and then there's after, right? And it's so different.
Yeah.
I was a lot younger when I lost
How
my
old
dad.
were you when you lost
I
your
was
dad?
13.
Oh my God. So she was 13 and I was 29. Very different ages.
Very different experience, but still like a common ground and a common bond that bonded us. So
Yeah. Does your dad give you signs?
150%.
What are your signs from Dad?
So one of the biggest ones, and I've shared this with you guys. So Leo, my middle guy, Leo Douglas is his name. He's named after my father. And so Leo, maybe it was last year. It was right when we first moved back into this house because we renovated it. And he kept talking about Grandpa Doug. And I was like, oh, that's cute. Because I talk about him. I'm like, your name's Leo Douglas after Grandpa Doug. And he'd be like, Grandpa Doug comes in my window at nighttime when I'm sleeping. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And I was like, well, what does he look like? Like kids say crazy things all the time. And he'd be like, he has white hair. And so my dad was 50 when he had me, and he always had gray. He was like a silver fox. So he always had gray hair. So I was like, okay, like, I guess all grandparents have that. And
you're like, I kind of believe you, but I'm not sold
I was
yet.
like,
give me more, kid.
Yeah, give me more.
I'm like, not sold yet. But like my mom was like a big believer that my dad would send butterflies as a sign for us. And so it was so crazy. Leah was like, yeah, he flies to my window as a butterfly and then he turns into Grandpa Doug. And I was like,
just got full body goosebumps.
yeah. And I was like, wait a
Anyone
minute.
else?
I was like, there's no way that this kid is just like coming up with this on his own. And so that was my thing. Like he's coming. And the other thing he does, he visits me in dreams, but not often.
Do you know how hard that is for spirit?
Okay. Really?
It's really hard to get it's a lot of energy. There's a couple of things, but that's a tough one for them to do.
It's not often. It's like when I might not even know I need it, but it's when I need it. And there are interesting things. It'd be us sitting around a table, like being at a podcast, and we're catching up, and I'm literally at a table in a house and I can't get to him. And then I get to him and then we're chit-chatting about things.
He wants to catch up with you, Katie.
We're literally catching up on things that have happened in life. It's like the craziest thing. I've maybe had 3 or 4 of those dreams in the, however many years. He passed in 2003. So it's been so long, but
he's always checking in on you. He's catching up.
Isn't that crazy?
It's not. It's beautiful. And I'm so happy that he comes to you in dreams in that way. That's really special.
That's cool.
I feel like this could be
Everyone's crying.
Yeah, so
I feel like this could be
Are there
whole
breaks on this podcast
Yeah,
for
I
tears?
feel like there could be a whole episode just on that.
I know.
I'm gonna bring us back.
Oh, wait, can I say one thing before we go shift
Oh,
gears?
absolutely.
I just want to share with everyone before we move on from this is that I've had a lot of people in the last month or so question if they're receiving signs. I just want to let everyone know that the signs you receive are for you. So if you have a naysayer in your life that's like, that's not real, that can't be true, I need you to trust the signs. If you've lost someone and they're trying to give you a sign, they are absolutely for you. Mm-hmm. And it's okay if other people in your life don't believe or are trying to tell you that it's not real. Friendly reminder, we're all having our own experience and those signs are very, very real. And if you're not sure if they're real, go ahead and up the ante and ask them to send you something really specific. And if that gets met, you have your answer.
I love that.
Last thing I'll say about signs. It's an important one for people to know.
I got goosebumps again.
I love that. Straight guy, 24/7 goosebumps.
Just full
right
goosies.
now.
Yeah. Just for, this whole episode. All right. Now we're going to get a little bit pretty focused on tarot card reading.
Okay, great.
And all these questions that we have. You answered the question of what it is and what the goals are, but is there a common misconception about tarot card readings?
Yes. I'm so happy to clear this up.
Yeah.
I feel like lately I've been hearing, not often, but sometimes people come to get a tarot card reading because they were convinced. And they will say things like, do you know when I'm going to die?
Oh
and are
my
you going to tell me to my face? And are you going to tell me bad news? And are you practicing some sort of devil thing?
Yeah.
One woman really did say that to my face too. And I was like, can we all just remember we're all humans trying to do our best here? And I'm a real person.
Oh my gosh.
It was a lot, but I think the most important piece of that puzzle is I cannot predict the day you're going to die. No one can. If there is a psychic out there that says they can, they are lying to you. They're lying. But the other thing is I'm not here to tell you bad news. The one thing I forgot to mention earlier, I think, Mandy, when you asked me about what happens during a tarot card reading, when we take those 3 deep breaths together, I'm setting an intention for your reading. I'm saying, I'm calling in messages for your healing and highest good. So I set the tone too. I only want messages for your healing and highest good. And on top of that, I don't know any tarot card reader that would want to be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah.
So big misconception I'd like to clear up. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
We don't know when you're going to die. We're not here to give you bad news. And we're not working with the devil.
I love that. I love that. No,
it really didn't. This woman was an older woman and you could tell it was just not her thing. And it's okay. It's okay if it's not your thing, but you also don't have to tell me the thoughts in your head.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sign up for a tarot card reading.
I'm totally okay if it's not for you.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
Wow.
And I respect if it's not for you, for that record too.
You're almost like a gatekeeper to spirit, sort of, right? So
That's
setting that
intimidating.
intention, I love that. Like when you said I'm setting the intention for the reading, that's what came to my mind. Like you're like, okay, we're channeling good energy, good things. So yeah, I'm not gonna encourage bad messaging to come through.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. It's funny. I said that was intimidating only because it's a lot of pressure, but then again, I do it with every reading.
Yeah.
And it's because I do receive message from spirit when I'm doing those readings, and boundaries are important in every facet of your life, even if you're communicating with spirit.
We're still learning that.
Do you know what's my word for 2024?
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Well,
I need to like really cement them this year.
I love that.
I love that. And I could see that. Yeah, we all have. And we also all need to work on
boundaries.
boundaries.
What was the saying? It was something.
We're going to say no more and sorry less.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I have a hard time.
It's as if I'm a fan of the pod.
Well, we're fans of House of Stellium. So the love is mutual.
I appreciate you, ladies.
Okay, so we mentioned that, or at least I think we mentioned that we've never done a card reading. Yes. What are the major cards so that we know what they mean or we get an idea?
Oh yeah, you need a lay of the land.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. Perfect. Okay, so in a tarot card deck, there are 78 cards. Out of 78, there's 2 different types of cards. There's the major arcana and the minor arcana. So minor arcana are cards that represent the day in and day out of life. Those are the suits. We've got pentacles, wands, swords, and cups. I'll go slow.
I recognize that lingo though. I do. Do you?
I mean, only because I was trying to do a little research.
Oh no. Yeah. Okay. I recognize it.
Okay. In those 4 suits, I'll tell you what they mean in a second, but there are numbers. So there's ace through 8, 9. Oh, I'm doubting myself. Ace through 10. There we go. And then there's king, queen, knight, and page. Pentacles represent the element of earth, and that's how you're receiving. That could be money. It could be self-worth. Either is on the table there. Swords represent the element of air, and that's how you're thinking about something. Wands represent the element of fire, and that's how you're taking action in your life. And cups, Mandy, cups represent the element of water.
My mind is blown.
I've never seen Mandy like this.
About something.
I've never seen Mandy like this, so you're blowing her mind.
I'm so excited. Well, she's a Gemini. She likes to take in lots of information.
Yeah. Taking it in. My mind is blown right now.
Okay. So that's the minor arcana. And the major arcana, there's only 22 cards. Those are cards like Justice, the Lovers, also cards like the Empress. They represent major themes or major changes in your life. Those are a little bit more rare, so to speak, than the minor arcana. But the major arcana is all about, if you know anything about movies or like books, the hero's journey.
Okay.
Where we all go through like the same cycle of life where, we set out on a journey, we experience some challenges, we overcome them, and then we're victorious, and then we repeat it over and over and over again. That's a lot. Do we have questions?
I mean, no, I'm sure we could do a whole part two.
I think I need to like see it in action, which we will
Soon.
see later. It's just fascinating to me. Like this is just a world that I am not experienced with.
I have a question.
I could make you so many cheat sheets. Yes.
Have you ever withheld negative information? I know we talked about
such a
like you don't
juicy
invite
question.
it in, but have you ever received negative information in a reading and withheld it from a reading? And how do you approach that?
Okay. I sure have.
Whoa, what?
It's very, very rare, but there's one card in particular that comes up. I want to say it's the 10 of Swords. Someone will fact check me, I'm sure. That card represents like a relationship being ruined or having run out of road. And if you continue in this relationship, it will not serve you. It'll only ruin you.
Whoa.
That's not a message I want to share. And sometimes I've only had it come up maybe 3 times in a year. And when that card comes up, gosh, I'm really showing my hand now. When this card comes up, I ask the person, or I tell the person what the meaning of the card is. And then I say, what does it mean to you? Mm-hmm. And sometimes I know what it means to them, but I don't think it's for me to deliver.
You want them to figure it out on their own.
Yep.
And maybe sometimes that prompt is all they need.
Yeah. But also sometimes we're not ready to hear that message, right? Like if you think back to pre-married time when you were dating someone and it ended and then everyone later told you like, oh, thank God I hated that guy.
Yeah.
You can't hear it when you're in it, right? It doesn't really land.
So true.
Could it also be
with friendship?
It's not just lovers, but could it be friendships too?
Oh yeah. It depends on the context of their question.
Okay.
So if it comes up in the context of, career, I will happily tell them here's what this card means. If you stay in this career or in this company, it's really not going to serve you. It's really going to run you ragged. You're going to start really losing yourself. This card is meant to hopefully validate what you're feeling, even though it's scary. If it's in the context of like career, I'll share that. Sometimes friendships, if they've brought it up, if it's top of mind.
Yeah.
But if it's romantic, that's not a message I want to deliver to them.
So then you mentioned like when people come in for the reading, they have a question for you.
Yes.
What's the most common question or topic area?
Ooh, okay. Great question. So I will say that every tarot card reader does their readings a little bit differently. That's kind of the magic of choosing a person to get your reading from, right? So always ask a tarot card reader, what's your style? My style is questions based. So I tell people, you can ask me just about any question you want. It doesn't have to be super detailed, but you got to give me a little something to work with. There's 4 like major buckets that people ask questions about. You won't be shocked by any of them at all. It's usually career, love, money or finances, and then challenging relationship dynamics. Oh. That could be tough friendships, tough with your romantic relationship, tough family dynamics.
Yeah.
I always tell them the one area that's off the table is health. That is a boundary that I set last year, and one that most people who read tarot cards set as well. Oh. But the most common one lately, Mandy, is what should I focus on for 2024? And those readings have been fun. We keep it a little bit broad and they get a nice little roadmap for what they should be working on this year ahead.
I love that so much.
But most people ask about love or money for sure. Yeah. Or job. Those are the 3 most popular. I mean, that's what we all want to know about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Hello. I feel like that's like what we all talk
Katie's
about.
like, I only want cards with pentacles. Thank you.
Put that one back.
Katie's a Capricorn, so that tracks for her.
Okay. Leaning into that, what cards? So this podcast obviously is called A Mom's Night Out. So what cards tend to come up most for women and or especially moms specifically?
That is such a great question. There's a few, but there's 2 that I feel like I've never, ever, ever seen these 2 cards come up for a man when they get a reading, which is interesting to note. Wow. The first one is the 10 of Wands. And the 10 of Wands is a card that literally means you have too much on your plate. Something's got to give.
Oh God.
The invisible load.
We could probably see that's probably coming later in the reading.
Yep.
I mean, that one feels straightforward for every woman, every mom I know. I don't know how the heck you guys do it, but without fail, it comes up every time. Almost, well, not that's being overgeneralizing, but it comes up many, many times for moms, but especially women.
Interesting.
And then another one that comes up a lot, that came a lot up in December, was the 4 of Cups. So that's a card that really wants you to rest and meditate. You are just too, like mentally you are exhausted. And before you can take on one more thing or do the next thing or turn the page on something, you have to get quiet and like center. And when I see that card come up, I usually tell the person in front of me, I'm like, I need you to make a fake meeting and tell whoever you need to tell that you are unreachable for like 3 hours. Pick whatever amount of time you can steal, right? Yeah. And go hide in your favorite place where you feel the most relaxed.
Oh.
Because you got to unplug and recharge, right? Like women take
Mine's blown with this.
Women take on so much. And it's really important to fill your cup up first. You can't, how many times have we heard you can't pour from an empty cup?
Mm-hmm. Always. Okay. So do you have like a favorite place? Like if you were unplugging for that time where you re-energize?
I love this question. I do. I go full immersion and I go hide at the spa.
Yeah. You're our people.
Yeah. We knew we were all connecting.
Yeah, we knew we were vibing.
We knew the energy was great in this room.
I actually, on Friday, I'm going to hide at so it'll be after this episode, before this episode airs, at my favorite place in Rhode Island. It's called Bodhi Spa. Have you guys ever been?
Yes.
Of course, Mandy's been.
What?
Yeah.
You know, I love the water journey.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I go, it's quiet. People respect the quiet whisper thing there. Hot and cold exposure. They have awesome massages.
About that, the water journey.
It is wonderful.
Okay,
wow.
Should we go?
Am I free on Friday?
Yes.
Cancel my Friday plans. I'm out.
I am unreachable. I got the 4 of Cups drawn. I am bye-bye.
It's going to be my
Katie,
birthday
Mandy,
week,
and Jenny
so
all suddenly feel sick and need to call out.
It's my birthday week that week, so I think I can. I think I'm allowed.
It's 1,000% allowed. But yeah, I'm a full immersion kind of gal. I need quiet. I'm a Scorpio, so for me, my most relaxed self is in water, hot water. Or warm water. Let me be clear. I do the cold plunge for the mental health piece, but the hot water is my happy place. So
interesting.
I need a hot tub. I need a good massage. I need a sauna. That's where I hide. And I usually bring like a journal. And I actually started bringing my tarot cards into an infrared sauna that's near me, not at Bodhi. I won't do it at Bodhi. That's too many witnesses. But at a place near me, I actually bring my cards and I like pull my own cards in the infrared sauna.
So cool.
Such a tarot card reader thing to do.
Has anyone ever been like, hey, can I get a quick reading?
No, because it's an individual one. So the door is closed. The door is closed. No one knows I have my cards.
I'm picturing the lifetime sauna.
Yeah. That would be all kinds of weird.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Actually, I wouldn't be shocked.
Are we doing this right now? Because I feel like we are.
Do you take Venmo? Because I can Venmo you.
I'm literally crying.
Okay, so you talked about how you approach a reading, being open, not having your guard up, not trying to bring your own thoughts into it.
Yeah.
what other things should a first-time person come to a reading prepared with? So are there some questions that we should be thinking of or preparing to ask you? And really, how do they set themselves up for success to ensure that they have a good reading?
I love that question. Well, first things first, do you have something in mind that you want to know? I think a lot of people come to me because they feel stuck around something, around an area in their life. I think it's important to note that when I read tarot cards, I used to work in law firms, so I joke that I treat it like attorney-client privilege. I will never repeat what is shared in your reading with anyone.
That was a question I had for you.
Yeah, that's important.
So sorry, I jumped the gun.
No, I did.
But that's important.
Yeah, that's so important.
It's really important, especially if you're there with your friends and you're going one by one and you don't want them to know what you're asking. I will never divulge what your reading was about. And candidly, if your reading was 2 months ago, I probably don't remember what was said.
Yeah.
There have been some that have stayed with me and, stand out, so to speak. But I run into people a lot in a coffee shop near me and I'm like, I read your tarot cards.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, do you remember? I'm like, I actually don't.
I feel like
I actually don't remember. It's okay.
It's like commercial real estate. It's deal merge. You're like, what?
Yes.
Deal? What did we do there?
You're like, I know, I remember you.
Yeah.
Did we do a deal? Were we in Vegas?
Where was it?
Yeah. It's similar. So I think being clear on what you want to ask. Some people show up to the reading and are like, oh shoot, I didn't think through this. I actually had someone, I don't remember what she ended up asking me about, but she was like, I actually don't have an area that I feel stuck in. And I was like, can we trade lives for a day?
Yeah.
I want to know what that feels like to not feel stuck around anything.
Yeah.
Perhaps not.
I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always a question.
But
I never knew you come with a question. Like I would be
it depends on your reader.
Yeah.
So I think something I want to
that.
share for people is the more pop-up I do, sometimes I hear stories like, I got a reading in, like, and they name a city or something. And they're like, and it was a total scam. And I'm like, okay, well, fair enough. You may not have thought to ask this person questions. So it is totally fair to ask a tarot card reader, what is your style? And what is a reading like with you? Do you have any testimonials? All of that, any reader worth their salt is not going to have a problem sharing any of that with you.
Yeah.
To make sure that you're actually going to get an impactful reading. You get what you came for, right? You wanted answers to something.
Well, it's like anything. Like if you were going to hire anyone to do anything, you sort of vet them out and make sure it's a good fit, right?
Yes.
No, totally.
Yeah. Okay. And so I feel like last question for this interview, and then we're going to get into a fun Mom's Night Out MNO reading. For the listeners who are local, and even for those who are not local, if someone's listening and they love you, like we know they will, because we do, and they want to do a reading with you, where can they find you? And do you ever do remote readings? Is it strictly in person? Talk to us about where they can find you and how they can get in touch with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I currently do readings. I rent an office in Scituate, so you can go to my website, houseofstellium.com, or you can find me on Instagram at House of Stellium. And Stellium is spelled Stellium. I do both in-person readings in that office. I do offer readings over Zoom, and I can attest that those readings are just as powerful as in person. You don't get to see my tarot table up close and personal, but you do have the same impactful reading. And then a new area that's been fun are pop-ups. So I've been loving collaborating with different brick and mortar businesses to pop up in their space. Yes. And I can't forget about my tarot parties. I love doing tarot parties.
Oh my gosh. I feel like
they've been very popular.
I know, we'll have to do one.
So we want to have like a pop-up event with you at the next Mom's Night Out event.
Yeah.
And then I think just in our friend group, we want to do a private event with you. But I think anyone listening, if you are, looking for someone to add to your parties and or you want a reading, check Lindsay out because you're just so lovely. And this has been
unreal.
I know.
But we're not done. We have fun questions to get through.
This has been.
There's the fun ones too.
Oh yeah, we got to do the fun ones.
Do the fun ones.
Sorry.
You're on the hot seat now.
Mandy, Kit,
is there a bigger spotlight that shines on me?
Amp up the ring light.
Before we get to the fun questions, I will say we'll also put all of this in the podcast description and then on our Instagram. So People, if you're driving, you don't have to write it down. Find it in the podcast description or go to our Instagram we'll link everything as well because this is just spectacular.
Thank you so much.
So
these are the really tough questions now?
Yeah,
they're really hard.
Super hard.
Okay. Super tough. Okay. Well, obviously this is Mom's Night Out. We do drink champagne. But what is your drink of choice?
Well, I came to the right place. I'm a bubbles girl.
Yes!
I'm always a bubbles girl.
Love that. See, that wasn't that tough.
No, I feel like bubbles, then beer, then vodka soda.
Okay.
In that order.
Okay.
I like that.
It depends on the day. Depends on the mood.
Yeah, I get
appreciate that. I feel like we're similar in that way, right?
Yeah, you got to switch it up every once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your spirit animal?
Love that one.
So I actually have a non-answer to this question. I don't have a spirit animal, but to flip this question on its head, I look up every time an animal crosses my path, the spiritual symbolism of that animal.
Oh, I love that.
Because that's what someone like me does, I guess. So I see deer a lot. Deer are they're a really good omen, first of all, but they're usually a sign that your loved ones are literally trying to physically get closer to you.
There's deer in my backyard all the time.
Of course
there's a bunch of them back
on
there.
New Year's Eve. They were like,
wait, is 2024 the year of the deer? Because for Christmas, Mike got me a bracelet with a deer charm on it.
Oh, I don't know.
It's like some sort of I don't know what it's called. It's like a gemstone with a deer, a little deer.
We're going to need to hear. How come we haven't heard about this and we're going to need to hear more later?
We know a lot about this.
tabling that one. Okay.
Sorry, that was a non-answer to your question.
I love that though.
I do like it.
So you do have a superpower, but if you had another superpower, what would it be?
I have been consistent with this for like maybe 5-6 years now. I want to teleport.
Me too.
I don't want to fly. I want to teleport.
Yes.
And here's why. I am blessed to have friends across the country, and I do experience a lot of FOMO, not JOMO, FOMO. And I would love to be in multiple places at once, or like just go have lunch with my best friend in South Carolina, or like go to Vegas well, I'm not going to Vegas. That's not my vibe anymore, but like, go somewhere for a night. That would be awesome without having to deal with like getting on planes and schlepping and all that jazz. I want to teleport.
That is the best superpower.
Genius.
I mean, think of the time efficiencies.
We love being efficient.
We're busy. We're busy women.
Okay, what's your favorite way to unwind and recharge?
It's what I mentioned before. It is hiding in the spa.
Yeah.
Love
I
that.
do think for me, and I figured this out, I think in my last full-time job, there was, they used this thing called personalysis. It's one of those personality assessments in the workplace. And in this personality chart, there's 3 graphs. The top one is like how you interact with others, how you, I forget what the middle one is, how you problem solve, and the bottom is self. I'm getting it wrong, but the bottom is self. And in the bottom, the very top, I have like the most yellow, which is like very, very social, meaning I love to be around people. I can talk to anyone. I thrive. But when it's time for me to recharge, I have literally 0 yellow in the bottom. And I guess it's very, very rare to have 0 yellow in the bottom. But for me, when my social battery is done, I am literally Irish exiting so fast you don't even know I'm gone. And it's a thing that has come up with my friends. They're like, you did it again. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm going to keep doing this for the rest of my life.
I feel like being intuitive, like you're picking up on so much energy.
There's so much.
Yeah, you're like, I gotta go.
And I will say some days are harder than others where like you don't mean to be a sponge, but you can just feel everyone's energy around you. That for me, one way to get energy off of you is water is a really powerful one. So like think of a hot shower at the end of a long day. It's a good way to literally wash the day away. And then physical touch. So massage is another great way to do that too. So for me, I'm like, nobody talk to me. I'm going to go hide at the spa or go hide in an infrared sauna. Like that's my way to recharge. It's like the quiet time for sure.
All right. Our final question.
Hit me.
So what is your advice for any woman who's listening or anybody in general who's listening and feels stuck and maybe wants to start a new job, new relationship, just anything new? What'd you tell them?
Yeah, this is a big one. I was thinking about this on New Year's Day, and I think it's really important to remember that a lot can change in a year. A lot can change in a year. So I want every woman to just take one small step towards the woman they want to become. Ask that friend for a coffee who does the thing you want to do in the industry you want to be in. I also like telling your friends or like trusted besties what you want so you can put it out into the universe. Literally speak it into existence. Guys, your words are your wands.
Write it down.
Write it down. We say that all the time.
Write it down. That's right. I heard that episode.
Yeah.
You got to write it down. Your words are your wands. You got to write it down because you're setting your intentions. So tell people what you want. You'll be surprised who's willing to meet you and help you get where you want to go. And I think above all else, I want people to remember or believe with all your heart that the universe has your back. Once you realize that life happens for you and not to you, you will start to flow and not force things in your life. You'll see far greater abundance when you make that shift. And one last thing I want to leave people with is never forget that rejection is redirection, and you should always trust that pivot because you were saved from something that wasn't for you.
Boom.
Wow.
Mic drop.
You need to write, I'm sorry, you and Katie need to write a book. Because the amount
speak that into the universe.
The amount of quotes, you guys, I'm just in awe. Okay, we are going to switch to tarot cards, but before we do, this episode is actually going to be airing on Katie's birthday.
Happy birthday, Katie.
Happy birthday, who is our ride or die.
Also, by the way, we didn't plan that. So again, hi, the universe is speaking to us.
And I just want to say, Katie, you are the biggest hype girl. We love you. We're so happy to have you in our life. I could cry. I probably will. The birthday tributes are not my thing. I don't say I love you very often
She's
to people.
a Gemini.
Yeah, I do not. I do not throw
love
those.
Me?
I love you. I do not throw those words around. I love you. I'm so happy to have you.
Oh my God.
And this
I'm gonna
podcast.
cry.
Oh.
I know. I just feel like you are so loyal and such a big advocate for all of us. Such a big champion and cheerleader. You're always cheering us on from the sidelines, even if it's not podcast related. It could be the most silly thing. I don't know. If you're having a tough day or you're being a mom, whatever it could be, you always have our backs and you always pick us up and have the kindest things to say. And I am just so lucky to be your friend and I love you.
Guys,
I've known you since 2015 and you've been this person since that day. And I'm so grateful you came into my life then. And I'm so grateful you're still in my life.
It was
happy
honestly
birthday.
perfect that this episode we had somebody who actually knew you, and just happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh yeah, cheers.
Oh no. Cheers.